Welcome back to DUBBZI Bricks for another episode of building the Tantive in Lego. And first of all, I must say a massive thank you to Teagles216 for your donation on the last Tantive video. Your generosity, Teagles, has blown me away once again. It really does help massively with these large scale mocks, and yeah, I'm just so grateful for the donations that you've put to the channel. And also a massive thank you to the members of the channel as well. I've had a few new members join over the last couple of months, and it does help so much with the building of these large scale mocks. So thank you for your support, guys. I really do appreciate it. Now, in the last update, we worked on this section at the top here. We've got loads of lights in there and really happy of how it's coming along. And hopefully I'll be able to get a bit more work done on this top section. I really would like to get the shape of it all sorted on here. But the one thing I want to start off on in this update is this part down here. There's a little bit of work I need to do on down here. I need to put some technic supports from these bottom beams down here up to here to help strengthen it. And I'd also like to bring these all the way out to the edge here just to help strengthen this part up just here. It'd be nice to cover up all of the ugly filler brick and filler plate, so when you're stood here you can only see the parts I want you to be able to see and the rest is hidden. I also want to get the panels put along the side here and going on this way if I can. It's just be nice to be able to visually see the shape of the vessel that little bit better. This part here is going to be quite the challenge. You've got a curve coming up this way, you've got a curve going that way, so it's going in every direction, and yeah, that one's going to be quite difficult, especially as you've got these then got the plates that are going to be joining onto it. So I want to try and make it so there's as little gaps as possible. So without further ado, let's get the bricks and plates out and let's get started. And just making the necessary amendments to this section in here, and this bottom part, which is where the escape pods are going to be, is very fragile, and I'm not liking the lack of strength in there. I've got a 3x3 plate just here which has popped off, and trying to get it back in is proving really difficult. So I'm just going to try and disconnect that section and really strengthen it up before putting it back on. I am very limited with the space that I've got under here, so it's got a case of trying to somehow connect it, maybe using more Tantive bricks to help shore things up, but we'll certainly try our best to get the added strength into there, so when it comes to putting the skin on, it doesn't start collapsing around me and then start getting all frustrated, especially if I've got a lot more stuff built up on here. Getting these parts here moved forward, I've had to strip that back off of there, which isn't too bad because there's not that much detail on it at the moment. So that's the last thing I want to have to do later on. If I get this all completed and then have to dig down into here, that's when the problems start. So let's take this off and see what we can do to strengthen it up. And that's the bottom section all reinforced and put back in place, and we've also strengthened it up along here as well. That's all working well, and the corridor section has been extended as well. Now I've got to make a decision in regards to this door frame. At the moment I'm not 100% happy with it. It's on some snot bricks, which are the ones where one stud on a 2 brick wide bit, and also using a Tantive brick as well, so it's enabled me to get the doorway dead center of that. The reason I was doing it that style was because of the limited space I had here. Ideally we'd have it the same as just there, where this is actually in between the door frames. So if I just remove those bricks, what it should look like is like so, and I do think it's going to look much better having it like that. It would mean I'd lose a whole stud worth of the corridor section here. However, for the sake of the door frame looking nice, I think I'd probably go down it. Otherwise, it is something that is just going to bug me further down the line, because it'd be the one door frame that's out of uniform with the rest throughout the entire build. So I just need to decide on that. Now on here, or just under this part here, or the right up tucked up there, we have put some snot bricks. So that is going to enable me to put some details in there. You're not going to be able to see them in these 3 bays just here because of the escape pods. However, you may be able to see them on that one if they're coming out far enough. These have all been amended now as well, so I can now put the details further down. And I am wondering whether I do actually need to order in the 4x4 cut plates that I was mentioning before, as I think I might just be able to get away with using the macaroni tiles. I think they will do just as good a job. I would probably end up putting those on there anyway. So I am going to have a little bit of a play with that and just see what details I can put on those sections just there. And next up, I want to work on the details which are going over the holes where the escape pods are. So this is going to be the hatch from the corridor to the escape pod. So I'm going to build it on an 8x8 plate. I need to put some plates over these studs here just to bring it forward by one plate. That way I can then cover up this Technic brick at the bottom as that sticks out just very slightly at an angle. So let's get one of those knocked up and we'll see what we can come up with. And here we have our first attempt at a hatch cover here. And I've gone for dark brown tiles behind the dish here, as when I watched Star Wars New Hope, the door looks like a brownish sort of colour. And I thought that would be in keeping with what I'd expected to be on the outside as well. Now, I wasn't 100% happy with that, so we went over to just experiment a little bit more. And this was the next version we came up with, which is very similar. Just these parts here on the corners are a little bit different. And also we changed that over to the dark bluish grey disc in the middle was opposed to black. Still wasn't happy, so we then came up with this design. And I much prefer using this part here to that one just there. It probably would look better in a dark bluish grey, and using these handlebar pieces I think did give it quite a nice effect. And I did try numerous different positions of these. I put them so they were on the top there, sort of like at 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock. But it didn't look quite as good, so I left it like so. But the final version I come up with, which is a lot simpler and went away from using the dark brown, was using the disc like so. Now, if I can get this in a brown, then that would be perfect, and I think I'd be a lot happier with that. But when I put this actually into the ship, I think it does look really good. So this is the design that I'll be going for, and it's just a case of working out what colour we can get it in. And there we have the 4 escape pod hatches all in place, and I ended up changing the handlebars at the top for these droid body pieces instead. I just thought it looked a little bit better, and it's also given me a few more connection points for attaching things from this onto the actual escape pod itself. So I think I'll put some hoses or some description over just to give it that little bit extra detail. I've started tidying this area off here, so we've plated along the top and built a dark bluish grey wall. Although you can't see it, it's just below those inverted tiles just there. And I'm now going to be putting some plating over this. Now, fortunately, by putting these bracket pieces on the top and the bottom, they're exactly 8 studs apart. So I can plate that off with 8 wide studs, and then that'll be that part job done. Then what I'm going to do is build another grey wall up just on this stud here, and then plate off along the top, and then that's going to hide all of the filler brick and filler plate. Then along this ledge here, I'm just going to put a whole load of greebling, make it look like machinery of some description in there. And again, on the plate and on this side here, there'll be even more greebling. So now we know what we're going to be doing. Let's get the plates out, get that all plated off, and then we can start building the wall up and then add all those details into the build. And there we have the side sections all plated off, ready for the finer details, and the same inside of here. We've got that all ready, so we can now start putting the greebling on there. So it's all looking good at the moment. What we've got to do now is work out how we're going to go about the panelling going up here. Now, had I done the entire corridor here, in other words, put the wall this side, the slope here would have actually been hitting it. Now, I'm contemplating having the slope start here, so we've got that part on just there. Just need to work out how I want to go about doing so. Now, following putting the plates on here, I was just trying to work out this angle here. I had a 8x8 wedge plate on here. However, the problem with that was I thought when it's at an angle, this low one may stick out. So I've taken it off for the time being. And what I've decided I'm going to do is try and attach this panel that we had here, or this framework, back onto the ship. Now, obviously, this is obstructing the view. So what I would do is remove the entire centre section of it. We would just have the outer edge of it. Might have to double it up in places to give it the strength. So this part here would be your viewing point into the entire build. So I'm just going to do that to start with, see how it looks. But at least then I know when I'm doing the end parts on here and down here, we've got the exact same angle as what we've got over the side. And here we have that section all in place, and it's nice and sturdy. I can push down on this and it's not going to break when doing so. Could do a couple more support beam places underneath it just to stop it moving that little bit if I can. Now I need to build up these walls inside here on top of the white bricks at the back there, on top of this Technic beam, just so you can't see through. And the same down this end. We've got these brackets here which are going to have ingots on. Above that I'm going to be putting a snot brick and then a tile on the front, just to give it the same effect as the corridor sections at the back there. But yeah, really happy with the decision to go for it this way. I think it's going to look really good once it's all done. And also it does mean I can have that removable panel on here to hide all this should I wish to do so, which is one thing that I always wanted to do if I could, so at least now we can do so. The other good thing as well, by having a panel on this, it's going to reduce the amount of dust that can get into this part whilst I'm just having it on display. Now, I am very low on white plates, and I don't want to use multicolour plate because there might be instances where I've got a tile with a round edge or a grill piece, and I don't want to see a random colour below it. I want it to be the colour that I want it to be. So I will make sure that I get enough plate in white to go on these parts here. So I'm just going to have a good look through my collection and just see what white plates I've got, and then get as much of this done as possible. And there we have the base plating of the panel there. So that's all ready now to have the tiles on top. The smaller wedge plates that go on the side there, so we have minimal studs exposed. Now I am looking at this part here and wondering whether or not it's this way just a little bit too much. So I may push that back if possible, but that may involve a little bit of structural tweaking inside of there. But I have got a couple of ideas how I think I can get around that anyway, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. Also, this is possibly going to come out by another couple of studs, and if that does happen, then I won't need to move that. So it's just things I need to have a good look at and experiment with a little bit further down the line. Start the structure up the top here. I was going to build a bit more of that. However, I want to decide exactly what's going to be going in this room, and also with Leia's stateroom there. Somebody did comment in the last update that it looked more like her chambers was a corridor, and rest assured that this is going to be changed. I just didn't want to leave it so that when I looked at this top section, all you could see was this multicolour filler brick and filler plate. I want it to be nice and tidy, but rest assured this is going to be changing. And the same with this part here. I possibly won't even have the doorway there, so I might just do that as a shut off wall. But yeah, really happy what we've managed to get done in this update. It's so nice just seeing the shape of things come together, and also getting a lot of the details on the inside of here sorted. I was hoping to get a lot more work done, such as blocking off this part under here. However, I've just struggling to find the pieces, so I need to have another good sort through everything. But all in all, yeah, happy with how it's coming. Anyway, that's all we have time for. Hope you've enjoyed the update. If you have, please remember to give us a big thumbs up. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content on the channel. And if you know anybody else you think would be interested in building the Tantive in Lego, if you could share the channel with them, it'd be much appreciated. Anyway, thanks for popping on by. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.